Hello again. Welcome to another edition of Retire Wise podcast. I'm David Koster with Retirement Living Associates, joined once again by the Honorable Elaine Marshall, Secretary of State for the state of North Carolina. We've had the pleasure of talking about a number of topics in the past, and today we're going to talk about something that's very important, and I think particularly important as we enter the holiday season. One of the things that, in a different capacity in my life, was advising folks on how to plan for future care that they might need. And one of the things that we often said was that when you get together for the holidays, it's a good time to talk about what you have in place and what you don't have in place. And we're going to talk about today advanced directives and the role that the Office of the Secretary of State plays as it relates to those types of directives and some other related things. So tell me a little bit about advanced care directives and the Office of Secretary of State.
Okay, glad to, and thanks for the opportunity to do this. I jokingly say that the Secretary of State in North Carolina is the Secretary of Stuff. We are very good record keepers. The office was created even before there was a state of North Carolina. When the colonial people were operating here, the King of England decided in order to have a record of what was going on in the colony of North Carolina, before we ever thought about statehood, there was a Secretary of State appointed to be the record keeper. At that time, land records and other official documents were deposited with that office.
That would have been in New Bern, perhaps? I don't know, where the colonial governor was
Well,
located.
first it was at Edenton.
In Edenton, okay.
And then came down to New Bern. Mm-hmm. But anyway, we became a state, mm-hmm. and the legislature appointed the first century there were a lot of early people. And then since the Constitution of 1865, after the Civil War, the public has been electing the Secretary of State. So here we are today, and we still continue to be a public record keeper. That is why the General Assembly asked us to host the Advanced Healthcare Directives, because we're basically a business support office, mm-hmm. but we're very good with our databases and our technology, and so that's what's essential for this type of activity. We also have a strong commitment to educating the public about resources and activities within the office here, and this is absolutely one of them. We register 4 different types of advanced directives. These are the kinds of things that you're not going to need in the happy times. They're going to be needed in the stressful times, and they're going to be needed at a time when you may not have a voice to speak about how you want to be taken care of. The 4 directives are the healthcare power of attorney. Mm-hmm. The second one is what we call living will, but its official title is Advanced Directive for a Natural Death. Then there's an Advanced Directive for Mental Health Treatment, and then there's your tissue organ donor card directive. The great majority of the ones that are filed here are the healthcare power of attorney. Mm-hmm. The mental health power of attorney is not really as widely well known. I guess people don't think about it that much. But there is a specific mental health one for people who want that. Chaplains have told me, and people in this industry, that having that living will mm-hmm. is the greatest gift that you can give to your family. Mm-hmm. Ideally, you'll be having holiday dinners, and it's not always a popular topic to talk about the future and maybe the death of someone, but people ought be encouraged to talk about those kind of things at the Thanksgiving table, but they probably don't, but need to, because those are your loved ones. Those are the ones that need to know and will be making decisions. I've had chaplains tell me that the worst divides can come at a time when a doctor who's not your family doctor, not anybody you've ever met before, says to you, your mother or your father is on life support. Mm-hmm. Do you wish that it remain that way, or do you wish that it be discontinued? And one will say, oh, Mama didn't want to live this way. The other will say, I never heard that, Right. And those kinds of fractures in the family. Very difficult to heal, if not impossible.
Right.
So this prevents that kind of thing.
Yeah, I personal experience with that. Both of my parents have now passed, but in both cases they had living wills in place, and it made for a smoother process, we'll say.
And more comforting.
That's right.
Maybe another approach to take with folks is to say, look, do you want them fighting over you when you're in the last hours of your life? You know, my mother in particular didn't want anybody to do anything extra for her. She was one of those hard-headed Depression era people. And she almost didn't like to accept help. But having, you know, the last thing she would want would be my brother and I to be squabbling over her or over an estate matter or anything. I think your parents can have a peaceful rest if they know that there's peace in the family.
Yeah, well said. Well said. And it is important that if these advanced directives exist, that they're known about. So communicating that is vitally important, but also registering those here with your office is another way that gets that out there and makes it people aware of it. There are many situations that I can think of in my line of work with older people in retirement communities where it wasn't known. Their wishes were not known, even if they had them put them in place. It's now a requirement at our communities that those decisions are made before you
Right.
enter.
A lot of folks can't go to another living area without having one of those, you know. This is something that we tell people, let everybody know. Let your hairdresser know. Let your church circle people know. Let your bowling league, whatever your group of friends, in addition to your family. We will give an ID card. I tell people, put it up on the refrigerator. The older ones have a password on it. The newer ones have a QR code on it. Again, this is a password that you want people in your family to know. A lot of people used to have living wills, and they'd let their lawyer keep them, or they'd have their family doctor keep them.
Or they'd put them in the freezer. I've heard that before.
A lockbox, a secure place. But in a time of crisis, which is what this really is, people are not necessarily thinking clearly to remember where it is, find the key to the box.
Exactly.
Or if it's over the weekend, you know, you're not going to get into the bank vault. Your lawyer's the last place. I'm a lawyer. You know, it needs to be something more secure than a lawyer's file, or more accessible, I should say, than a lawyer's file. And your doc is not going to be the doc taking care of you. The guy, person that's treated you for 20, 30 years are not going to be the ones. So
Highly
that's
unlikely.
not the appropriate place. So with the QR code now, you can pull it up on your phone. The hospital people know to look for these because they very much support this activity. Now, a couple of tips. The forms for all of these are online at sosnc.gov. And then go to Advanced Directives after that. And you can print out the forms. The instructions for filling them out, because some of them are more than just a simple signature. Some
choices.
Notary. Yeah, and choices on them also. So you can pull them off and look at them and think about it, you know, before you have a family conversation. Again, think about it and do it. Then once the documents have been executed, there's a $10 fee for filing them here.
Per document.
Per document, right. You can retrieve them if, say, you appointed somebody as your health care power of attorney and they had a job transfer and they now live in California. That's not really practical. So you may want somebody else. It does cost another $10 to refile. It's not like an amendment, but that's a small price. The General Assembly said this needs to be self-sustaining, so there's got to be a fee.
There it is.
So it is. So there's a fee that goes
$10
with it.
per. Well, thank you very much for outlining that. And I feel like I'm probably more informed about some of this than some people, but I wasn't aware of all this, and I was not aware of the QR code. So I can tell you one thing I'm going to do. is to take advantage of that. I'm getting ready to travel with my wife for our 40th anniversary trip to Europe,
congratulations. Yeah.
and I will feel better by having that card in my wallet and having the QR code there with it. Any other aspects of this that we should be aware of? I know the organ and tissue is something that folks have probably encountered, I hate to say, through the Department of Motor Vehicles, but it is something that it is very helpful if you've made that decision in advance, where you're not having to, again, rely on family members to decide if they would on your behalf like to donate your organs.
Now, you may wonder why we have the organ tissue versus the motor vehicle thing. It's my understanding, this is anecdotal information, that the one that you sign is actually a stronger statement. You know, hospitals are very risk averse. They are not willing to do anything that might be considered risky. If your family is squabbling over your capacity or whatever about the time you had your driver's license determined, if you think about it, you didn't sign anything.
Right.
You just said, they said, you want to be an organ donor? You said, yeah. You know, hospitals would prefer this type where you've actually signed something because family members who are not in alignment with what the person wants, two things: the hospital may not do it, and secondarily, it proves to the person who's doubting that this is how mama or daddy wanted to be handled.
And this is really all about having your wishes honored.
Yeah, it's you.
That's right.
The best way to get your thoughts out there is to do these.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you so much, Secretary of State Elaine Marshall. We hope this has been helpful to you. And again, I encourage you to go to the Secretary of State's website for resources about this and many other things that will be helpful to you. This again is the Retire Wise podcast, and we thank you for tuning in.